Hello my internet friends and welcome back to the workshop. This week, and I say this week because it's taken pretty much all week, to this week I've been converting the, what is it, Grado PS1000. It's a sexy bit of kit, but my god, these are a nightmare to get apart. This particular pair did not want to come apart and it took me several days and a great deal of swearing to do it. So anything that you see in the coming video is purely for entertainment purposes. I do not recommend doing this. This is not an instructional video. Leave them well alone. They're very expensive, very difficult to do. I don't think I'll be doing it again. So enjoy. But if you're thinking of doing it yourself, don't do it. Just make yourself some pigtails, something like that. Actually getting these open is no fun at all. Anyway, hope you enjoy it. Hope I've edited out all the swearing, and here we go. Hey, internet types. as you can see, the warming bed is out again. Oh, it's getting nice and warm on a cold day. Ooh, starting to warm up. The warming bed is out, so that can only mean one thing. It is Grado/Grado day to day. I know, apparently peeps say Grado, but you know, I'm terribly British, and I feel Grado is better in some ways. Anyway, today, I've been building up to this. We've got the big boys. What have we got? These shiny boys. Okay, so these are the PS1000. As you can see, these have a big old metal ear cup. Now then, obviously, wood is very good because you don't get sort of resonant frequencies and stuff in it because of the way the material is. But there's something to be said for just a big old chunk of mass. So having a big chunk of metal like this means that when the diaphragm of the driver moves, less of that energy is transferred into vibrating the casing, because it's literally just too massive to shake around, so most of the energy goes into creating sound. So I would have thought that you're going to get kind of more controlled bass with a big weighty enclosure like that. And as you'll notice, so you've got a flat surface here and then it's angled off. It's been a while since I've looked into speaker design and stuff, but from what I remember, a stepped baffle does have some advantages from a sound flow kind of point of view. So I'm hoping that these are much like the other ones that we've done. The advantage of this is obviously heating up the glue is going to be easier because we've got a metal body. Let's just take the pads off. Okay, so look, yeah. So it's been a long time since I've done one of these. So you've got a wooden part holding the driver, and then a metal part, so that'll mean that these are glued together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to heat this up, and then I can separate these two parts and get at the driver. It does look like someone's possibly had a go at these already. I don't know. Are the drivers just different on these? Anyway, yeah, so no, yeah. So I'm going to pull these apart. So again, these have got the larger pads. I think some people call these the salad bowls. I can't remember what they really get. It's like a G-cush or something like that. Grado call them. And these, putting these on the other ones gives a much bigger soundstage. I had some SR80s and we changed them to these pads, and the difference it made was incredible. So I think a pad upgrade is really good. You look stupid, don't get me wrong. It's a stupid looking pad, but really does improve the soundstage. Makes everything sound a lot wider and less like it's inside your own head. So because of just the thermal mass of having all that metal, it's going to take a while for those to warm up. So I'm just going to leave those on there for 10 or 15 minutes while I go and crack on with something else. And I'll be back in a bit. Alright? Alrighty then, they've been on there for 10 minutes or so and they are hot. So I've got to be some gloves on. Let's try pulling one apart. Let's see what happens. Oh, hot. No movement as yet. So I might let them. Oh, that one's moving a little bit. Not that side. So I'm going to leave that on there for a little bit longer. Right, they're really not giving up their secrets. Yeah, I'm still letting them warm up, but they are getting pretty hot. I've had these apart before, and essentially this wooden section slides into the metal bit, and there's glue in between that hold it in. And on the last couple of pairs I've done, I've just kind of warmed it up and then used something the appropriate diameter to poke the wooden section out of the metal section. But these ones, for some reason, just don't seem to want to come apart. Now then, what you will note is obviously metal is a very good conductor of heat, and wood is not. So even though these are quite hot at the moment, the wood and the actual driver are only just kind of lukewarm, not even warm. So what I'm probably going to do is just start to crank the heat up sort of 5 degrees at a time until the glue inside starts to loosen, because I don't know, like the metal is pretty hot, but yeah, it's just not quite coming unstuck yet. So I'm going to cover them up and crank the heat up sort of 5 degrees at a time, and then try it again. So I'm going to let them heat up a bit more, and hopefully we can pop them open. I have found a vitamin bottle which is exactly the right size for poking them out, so that will help. But yeah, I think just a little bit more heat, and I might have to find something a bit better to protect my hands, because we're probably going up to sort of the metal part might be at like 95 degrees, so that's quite hot, whereas the wood, as I said, is not that hot. Yep, so leave it with me. I'm going to try and just keep trying, but I suspect this is going to take sort of half an hour or so of gentle warming and footling to get these apart. I genuinely didn't think these were going to come apart for a bit. This has been a good half an hour of battling, but I've been using various plastic pry tools in the little gaps in between them, and I've now managed to get them both where you can hear the glue starting to move. Yeah, there's a little bit of movement in that one. A little bit of movement in that one. Now then, to get these apart, I'm going to have to basically cut the cable and poke that through, and then I should be able to get the two halves apart. And yeah, getting it back together, I'm sure on the last pair of these they might have already been modified, but there was a cutout to release the cable from the wooden part, but in this pair it seems that there's not. So I'm probably going to have to cut the cable and poke it through. I wanted to make sure I could get all the glue unstuck before I did that, because once you cut the cable, you're in trouble. Alright, so yeah, I'm going to cut the cable, poke that through, and then hopefully these will come apart. I'm going to keep the gloves on because those parts are really hot. So, snippy snippy. There we go, there's no going back now. This is it, we're in deep. Okay. Poke the cable through. Come on, cable. Again, I'm trying to use plastic tools so I don't scratch the metal. There we go, that's that one through. Anyway, leave it with me. I'm going to get these two apart and then we'll have a look inside. Okay, so we finally got them pried apart, and that was not fun. These did not want to come apart. I don't know what the glue is that they've used, but I think it's slightly different. It didn't seem to want to soften with the heat as nicely. Yeah, so that's the wooden section. You've got the grill and the metal bit, and they've got them all separated, so you can see there was some kind of hot glue around here, but oh man, it was really difficult to get out. Now, well, okay, so that was horrible. The glue inside was super crusty. As you can see, I've spent a long time. I ended up having to remove the driver just because of the way I wanted to rebuild these. So I had to pick all the glue out from around the outside and lever that out, and then it's taken hours just to clean all the old crusty glue off everything so that it fits back together nicely. Yeah, so I definitely wouldn't recommend trying this at home. This is not fun, and I probably won't be doing another pair of these because this pair has put me right off. But I'm in now. Let's smash it. Let's do a nice job on this. So let me just put on my. I'm keeping these warm because I'm going to glue everything back together in a minute, and think if these were cold, when the hot glue went on, it would instantly dry. So I'm going to keep these hot, and then it should all be, you should be able to seat it all nicely in there, and then cool it down, and it'll stick nicely. But I'm having to wear a glove just because these are hot. But as you can see, these little sockets would fit in there nicely, and you'd end up with the little screwy-on-y bit there. I think that would look super sexy, all flush mounted like that, and also it gives you the support of having that screwed on. The difficulty is going to be, obviously, is that boop, boop, that's not going to go in there. So the plan is basically I'm going to cut this hole so that it's rectangular and the right size for that socket to fit in. Then I'm going to reassemble all of this, fit the socket in there, screw it all up, and then the last piece to go on will be the driver. What I'm also going to try and do is give the socket a bit of support with some hot glue that's in there. That will prevent it from falling out if you unscrew the socket, but will mean that if you do have to get into these again, you will be able to blow through the grill with a hot air gun to soften the glue and get them apart, because you always got to think about repairability. Alright, so I'm going to put that in there. Make sure it's vaguely central. It is. Okay, then what I'm going to do is just mark around the edges. So these, this is part electronics, part woodwork. The plan is cut that rectangle out, then I can mount that in there, screw it into that nicely. That will be a really nice looking job. Whoever gets these is going to get a bargain, because I think this has been about £300 worth of labour at the moment to get these kind of done really nicely. So it's probably not something I'm going to do in the future, just because there's no... I'm too busy, man. It takes too long. But yeah, you just can't charge enough to make it really worthwhile. I'm not sure how they do it in the Grado service centre. But to be fair, I've had another pair of these and they came apart alright. This particular pair, there was just something, the glue had gone a bit weird and it didn't want to soften when I applied heat, and it just took hours and hours and hours to get them apart and cleaned up. So leave it with me. I'm going to use a tool in the Dremel, like a little router bit, to make that rectangle. Wish me luck. Right. Okay. So I've made a hole in that the right side to seat this in there, and obviously I can seal around the outside with a bit of hot glue when I get it all together. So now we just need to do a bit of a test fit to make sure that it's all going to go back together, because once you glue it, you don't have to unglue it again. Right, well that's doing its thing. I'm going to attach some wires to these sockets. Let's get some light on. Okay, so now it's time to put these back together. Just cooling the soldering iron down a bit, because we normally use silver solder, which needs quite a high temperature, but the solder that's on the drivers for the Grados is a lower temperature solder. It's just knocked it down to about 350. But like what it says on the screen there doesn't really bear much resemblance to what the actual temperature is, so it's probably a bit lower than that. Okay, so these are the drivers from the PS1000. So as you can see, you've got the red magnet on the back there. Got 4 holes, so some of them have had more than that. So that the holes on the back here to do with tuning the bass response and the overall performance of the driver. And again, you've got a little bit of some kind of goop on the back there. which is holding the wire on. I think it also dampens any ringing that you get from the metal parts and any sound reflections and stuff. It helps dissipate them. I don't know, but I know the more expensive ones have got goop on there, and modders often recommend putting some kind of damping material on the back, so I suspect that's what it's doing. So again, I'm going to mark the positive side so I don't forget, just in case. Just a little plus on there, a little plus on there. Right. Let's remove the old wires. So, you know, this is the difficult bit because you don't want to damage the drivers in any way. So I'm just going to put a bit of flux on the original solder joint so it helps them melt a bit. I'm also going to get some fresh solder on the tip of my soldering iron. Obviously, because I turned the temperature down. Oh, no, it did melt. That's good. All right. Okay, so that's the negative. The other one's the positive. Just make sure they're not connected. Yep, that's cool. Right. So this one's negative. Where is it? That one. Okay. So let's get our driver. What I'm going to do is I'm going to attach the wire at an angle like that, so it doesn't get in the way when we reseal it. Okay, so that's all of that soldered back together, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these on our test grid quickly just to make sure everything's okay, and then we'll put them back together. So there we go, so that's all sealed in place. Where I've melted the glue and I was pulling them apart, it's got like sticky shmoo all over these. So I'm going to give these a bit of a clean up first, and then we'll finish them off and we'll just go over, just see the final thing, see how it looks, because it's going to look sexy. They're a sexy headphone. We've got a nice cable to go with them. Yeah, so be back in a minute. Well, there you go. They're all done. They have a detachable cable. This is balanced, so you've got balance 4.4. Really nice lit cable which you can detach, and that also swivels so that you don't get your cables twizzled up. Yeah, so that was it. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe. It cheers me up. I put in a lot of hours. You know, just send me a like. It's all good. It's all good. But yeah, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. It's not cool. These are horrible to work on. But if you've got any questions, do ask. I'll try and answer them. But I think everything's in the video. You know how it is. Anyway, choose some other videos that you may or like. Bye.